Okay, we have a tradition here at St. John Vianney. The third-year men give a vocation talk, and fourth-year men give a priest hero talk. And so today we have Patrick Byars, fourth-year man, who will give a priest hero talk. Patrick is from Grand Rapids Diocese in Michigan. Please be seated.
Thank you, Father Kelly, Father Becker, Reverend Fathers, our gracious benefactors, and any other honored guests, and my brothers. The priest on whom I settled is one of the best men I've had the opportunity to get to know. He might not realize it, but the few months that he spent in my life were some of the best that I've had and changed me forever. He's a very intelligent man, full of joy, with a very deep spiritual life. He speaks at least 5 languages fluently and wants a secretary who also speaks them so he doesn't have to spend so many hours in front of his personal Pandora's box sending emails. And some of the seminarians who I was with at this time volunteered to do it for him, and he wasn't even sure if they spoke one language fluently. So my priest hero is none other than the most wonderful Jesuit you'll ever meet, the Texan who lives in the eternal city, the man who forgets nothing, and I mean it, he doesn't forget anything, Father Joseph Corolla, S.J. For those of you who don't know Father Corolla, he is the Bernardi House chaplain for the Catholic Studies Rome program, teaches patristics at the Pontificia Università Gregoriana in Rome, works at a mission in Havana, and provides formation to the seminarians at Bernardi. And this guy is a workhorse. He never stops doing something. It goes without saying that someone who teaches patristics at the Gregoriana is a very intelligent person, but Father Corolla is steps above most people there. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we would have study hours in the Gregorian library, and I had the pleasure of sitting right across from Father Corolla, and he would bring in a stack of doctoral thesis chapters from his students, and he would sit down and would go through correcting them, making sure that everything was good. And a few times he asked me if he could borrow my computer to check things. And I just thought that he was using it to make sure that the information was correct. But one time he needed my help because he's old and doesn't know how to use computers. And so I went over and helped him and found the document that he wanted. And as soon as we found it, he just scrolled through, didn't look at anything except for the page numbers, found the exact page that he wanted, and in his humble, nonchalant way said, "Oh, I thought I remembered seeing that there." He had found one line in the doctoral thesis chapter and knew the exact document and the exact place in the document where he had read that line. So after that, I was a little scared to have him read any of my papers. While that one shows his vast store of knowledge, my favorite story about his memory has to do with his classes. So like any good teacher, he likes to learn the names of his students so that he can engage them in class. And it takes him about a week to get to know everyone's name. But unlike most teachers, he starts learning their names the week before classes start. And instead of having 20 students like we have in our classes, he has 120 students. And he learns everybody. So this is where it gets to be entertaining for me. On the first day of class, when everybody shows up, he lets everyone go through and say their name once, as he says, so that he doesn't scare them too much. Because he then goes through, after everyone has said their name, and tells everyone their name back. And whenever there's anyone missing in class, he asks specifically where that person is. So nobody ever misses his class after the first day. So while his memory and his intelligence are very formidable, they're nothing compared to his deep spirituality. I had the privilege, sometimes felt like the misfortune, of being the head sacristan in Rome. This meant that I had to do a lot more than most people, but I also got to travel with Father Corolla everywhere we went. Whenever we were going to have Mass at a certain chapel, I always went with him early to help set up. And most of the time we would show up early so that we could get some prayer in. And being the great contemplative that I am, I would pray for a little while and get distracted by the beauty of the chapel, or more often than not, I would get distracted by Father Corolla. We would usually be praying next to each other, and after a little while, I would have said all my prayers and just kind of sitting there, and Father was just kneeling there, just radiating peace. So I think I spent more time watching him pray than actually praying. So not only did he set a time aside every day to pray, but he had a special devotion to the Sacred Heart, which, being a Jesuit, is no surprise. But he also had a deep devotion to Mary. On those days when I spent most of the time with him, he never failed to look at an image of the Sacred Heart when we would pass by, or to take time to pray his rosary. And the time that I got to spend with him and see his deep prayer life really affected me and wanted me to grow closer to God like he was. And a great sign that I noticed of his deep spirituality and love for God was his immense joy. I can't remember any time where he didn't have a smile on his face. He was always cheerful and either cracking jokes with us or telling us stories, especially his wonderful Greyhound bus trips with people such as the man sitting behind him who tried to contact the mothership. It didn't matter to him if something was going wrong, if he was having a bad day, if he had meetings. He always had a smile on his face and would ask me about my day in a way that showed that he cared. And he always had a time for a cup or a pot of tea, and always had some good conversation to have. I don't know when I'll see him again, but I know he will always be my priest hero. Praise be Jesus Christ.
Now and forever.